Altcoin, it's been taking the crypto space by storm over the last few months. And well, in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the technical analysis and sharing my thoughts and opinions as to how high I think TON could go in 2025. This will be my 2025 price prediction. So guys, as I get into today's video, if you do find it useful and informative, smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, and let's take a look at what's going on with TON. So here we have TON is paired up with USDT. And we're using the 1-day 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗧𝗧 chart. And we're using that chart because there's actually a lack of history on other exchanges like Bybit or 𝗕𝗂𝗪, KuCoin, Binance. They don't have data going far back. In fact, it only goes really roughly to the end of 2022. Whereas here on 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗧𝗧, we can actually see the all-time high from 2021, which comes in right here at the $5.47, right? So that was your all-time high. We then obviously collapsed down into 2022, and this is really important to understand where we were in order to be able to kind of predict out where we are heading. So we essentially took Altcoin, or the community did with a kind of bear market, took it down from 547 down to 74.7. Since 2022, though, we have seen some really interesting kind of moves, right? We have gone up into new all-time highs in 2024. Okay, we can see it was 1,000% move. Now, what we don't know is kind of the level of progression that was made here in 2021 and all that kind of stuff. And because there's a lack of information here, we're going to have to use what's right in front of us to try to guide us into those next big moves for TON. Now, taking a look at our structures, some people are going to be like, this is really clearly impulsive in the way that it's kind of formed. And they're not wrong 100% there, but they're also not 100% right either. But I'm going to go and break down what is going on here. So here you can see the idea of a kind of wave 1, a wave 2, a wave 3, 4, and 5, right? Very interesting kind of structure. Over this side, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in a diagonal based pattern. Okay, and this is where it trips people up a little bit because when they look at this, it doesn't give them the idea of an impulsive breakout. But you have your leading diagonal, you have your 5 wave moves. Now, it's really important that we understand what tools I'm using here. So I'm using Elliott wave, okay, in order to kind of predict out where things are going. Now, Elliott wave is based on psychology. It tracks the behaviors of buyers and sellers and how they resonate with certain Fibonacci levels. And they basically flow in several different types of waves. They either go in 5 waves, which is what you see here, or 3 waves. 3 waves are corrective, as in their short-term moves, and 5 waves are trends, right? So here we can see we're clearly in an upward trend since 2022, right? And so what's really interesting about this is when you start taking these measurements using the Fibonacci tools, specifically the Fibonacci retracement tool, I should say. And as we kind of scale this down and snap it into all of these correct positions, we take this and we move it over to our wick low that we had here in January of 2023. Which we can see right over here is a wick, and that wick came in at a low of 99 cents. So I'm going to go ahead and just move the fib chart here to 99 cents exactly. And we'll see if I can get that right. We go. Perfect. Okay, so that is our low point. And then, of course, we can see this really big run to the upside. And it's moved up quite nicely. But what it hasn't done is gone up higher than the 1.618. And that's really, really important. Some people are going to say, it's still impulsive and we're still in these kind of bigger macro movements. But without hitting the 1.618, technically speaking, as per the rules as they were written, this cannot be classed as a wave 3. Okay, so very interesting kind of structures for sure, but it can't be a wave 3. That means that something else is potentially going on here. Now we have to talk about 2025's price prediction, but also we have to reflect on what this might mean for bigger macro picture. Okay, because there are some patterns here that have these kind of 5 wave structures that do not hit 1.618 that lead you into bigger patterns later on. Okay, so where do we sit today? Well, at the moment, we're having a nice, interesting correction to the downside. Now, typically that correction would be around kind of 38.2% if we were in a trend-based pattern to the upside, right? On a bigger macro scale, that is. And I'll go ahead and just show you what that would look like. That would be looking likely to come down towards the 370. Now, at the moment, we haven't gone down as low as that, right? And in fact, I'll just snap that to the correct wick. There we go. you can see this would be 368.1. We've come down to the 0.236. So as far as I'm concerned, we are within the realm of what would be typical. So anything lower than 0.236, but normally you would expect a 1.382 down to that 50%. But we can, of course, acknowledge that that can be a broad range like so, between 2.36, 0.236 and 0.5, right on the fib scales. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the fibs, and you can see here that we've come down into this typical range. Now, it's possible, considering the market volatility at the moment, that we still come down a little bit deeper. Taking a look at our structures here, no guarantee this is finished. Looking at it, I would say it's probably not, and we can still see a little bit more slippage to the downside. That range of expectation on that move would put us more towards kind of 416 to 364, and I'm going to use that to kind of give us the next kind of prediction. I'm going to show you two different scenarios for TON here. Okay, so the first one is to kind of consider the kind of impulsive move and ignore the 1.618, as some people may do. I don't believe that's the right way of going, but again, we're in a low liquid market, so we can argue that maybe some of those rules can be a little bit flexible, right? I don't like that, but some people will. So in that scenario, you have a wave 1, a wave 2, a wave 3 that doesn't hit 1.618. You move down into this typical range, and then you rally up. In this particular scenario, I think actually gives you a more bearish outlook. It only gives you a prediction for 2025 to be in this range between $10 and $13. Not exactly those big numbers that a lot of people would be expecting from that next kind of big bullish market, right? It wouldn't really hit those kind of expectations. Now, this here would, of course, be another 5-wave move. It'd still be a 5-wave structure like so, and it'd be an interesting one, right? It would be a price prediction between $10 and $13, right? Not the best. The percentage wise on that would be about 169 to about 270%. So yeah, good, but let's face it, there's going to be better altcoins out there. Alternatively, we don't follow this pattern, and we actually follow a slightly different pattern. Okay, and the other pattern that we would follow would be the idea that maybe these are not impulsive on their own, but they have impulsive mechanisms to them, indicating that we're in some kind of triple zigzag pattern. Okay, so here you can see this idea of a 5-wave pattern just roughly on the daily time frame here, but maybe in fact there's actually some sub counts going on there that actually are more ABC structures internally, right? And there's some extensions inside. A clear one would be the idea that maybe you have 3 waves here, for example, and then maybe on this side you actually end up with something slightly different, like a triple zigzag pattern. So you end up with the idea of something like this going on instead. And the reason and the rationale behind this is actually we could lead ourselves into the idea that maybe there's actually a triple zigzag happening on a bigger scale. And for that, of course, we would have to kind of maybe take into consideration the idea that this is some kind of ABC structure that overextended a little bit like so. Okay, so for that kind of premise, that kind of idea would actually allow us to be a little bit more bullish on TON. That would actually show us with the projection actually going up a little bit higher. It would put us out more towards the $20 level, between 7 and 19 to be specific. So this is the one that I think is actually the more probable scenario, right? Of course, there's one other thing I guess I could talk about here, which would be if I remove the fibs off the scale here. So we have 2 targets at the moment. The other one could be that, yeah, this is an actual diagonal based pattern, right? And it's playing out like this. We then actually see a rather harsh correction very quickly in the bull run, and then we get a very explosive kind of zigzag pattern towards the end, and we see those kind of really big numbers that I guess a lot of people are speculating and hoping for. And in the end, what you end up with is the ABC structure. Okay, so this is something that could play out across multiple years as we kind of scale off into like 2020 or 2030, I should say, 2029, that kind of thing. But for the most part, there isn't a huge amount of data here to kind of say that this pattern isn't going to play out on the other one is. But I do think that we can be kind of optimistic. I think on the lower side, $10, and on the higher side, $20. I think that's going to be kind of my price prediction for TON, the open network, in the coming bull market of 2025. I would like to be wrong. I would like to see really big overextensions, big explosive moves to the upside with fresh demand coming in. But the data, as the traders are showing us at the moment, are not giving us those kind of vibes. So it's one of those. We'll pay close attention to it. But for now, my money will be on somewhere between $10 and $20. What do you think the price prediction will be for TON, or what is your price prediction for TON in 2025, I should say? Let me know in the comments down below, or join us in our free Discord server. I'd like to get everyone's opinion on that. And guys, if you haven't done so already, smash the like button. If you're new, subscribe and check out this video right here. It's not one you're going to want to miss.